Cool. Hello, everyone, and welcome back. This is the third topic that we have for today, and we've been discussing a couple of other things during the OpenStack Manila PTG. So, if you are interested about the other discussions, the recordings there, we are breaking them up, and they are all going to be posted to the OpenStack Manila YouTube channel. So, if you'd like to catch up on any of the other discussions that we had, please check the OpenStack Manila YouTube channel. All right. So first thing on the tech debt items that we would like to bring up today is moving the container driver resources to key to avoid the Docker rate limits, which have been bugging us for some time. So I see Gautam's adding some notes. Gautam, would you like to share some thoughts on this?
Hey there. Right now, I think the container driver tests are failing. This is not got to do with the rate limit security services updates, and you, I think there was a share server migration uh, workflow as well that was being tested only with the container driver amongst all the other open source drivers that we have in tree that we are running CI with. The container driver has been useful for testing these kind of things. But right now, I think we have a problem with our backend pre-provisioned Tempest credentials. And if you don't know what those are, it's been a painful, way to actually extend Tempest a lot to do multi-tenant testing. And with multi-tenant testing, we had two ways to do that. One would be you would tell it, you would tell Tempest what all credentials it can use and what networks it can use, and it would go on and, like, splice up the tests in such a way that it can run them with different sets of credentials, that is, pretend to be different OpenStack tenants and different users on those tenants, and work with the networks that were pre-provisioned and so on. And then you had the aspect of dynamic credentials, where you don't have to worry about this. You just run Tempest, and it just creates its own sets of tenants and networks and so on. I think we for DHS's true testing I mean, have supported both, except there are some corner cases, like there are drivers that we are aware of, which have some limitations, right? And these limitations are around the kind of networks that could be used. With OpenStack, when you do virtual networks, I mean, by default, you get overlapping IPs. You could pick overlapping IPs, and Tempest is not really smart about doing this. It's just creating a bunch of fake networks, and the subnets it ends up using for these networks end up being the same, and so those would cause overlapping IP addresses, and so that's why someone like I think the Dell EMC folks had a problem with this with some of their backends, and so they would actually use the pre-provisioned credentials to run with this, to run the tests with. And right now, we used to try to test the container driver with pre-provisioned credentials, just so we can know if Tempest can be used with properly with drivers like that. Um, and DevStack makes it super easy. There was a way to set up test accounts and just use those test accounts. It looks like we have a whole horde of RBAC problems. I don't know where the bug is. It could likely be in the RBAC implementation also, but it would be strange if it was that, because what initially started off as certain tests failing, like, for example, we needed to create public shares, and we know that public shares can only be created by administrator users, but Tempest for some reason was allocating a reader user to it, so a user with a reader role to test that test, and that test would invariably fail with RBAC issues. And it's a wrong kind of failure, even if it was a negative test. So those were the only kind of things we'd see sporadically, and it seemed like there was some problem with the thread switching that was going on with Tempest. And so I think to isolate that, we tried running it with single threaded. But right now, I think a whole bunch of tests have started failing. I think it's prudent for us to report a bug, but at the same time, I don't want to lose testing for the container driver because of all the um, you know all the features that it is testing on the gate for us. Uh, so I'd try to switch that back to using dynamic credentials. Should not do anything to the container driver as such because it doesn't have those limitations that other drivers have. Um, but it just means that we are leaving a little bit of a testing gap for anybody else that will want to run Monolith Tempest plugin and and see if all the tests that we are continue to add continue to work against their backends. Something to be aware of. And I was just clarifying that we're losing coverage only for the Tempest side of things, not for
Yep.
anything to do with monolith behavior. And having coverage for that helps because I mean we definitely want maintainers to run third-party CI, and we don't want them to have to investigate all these upstream projects if in the guise of running monolith tests. So having this coverage would at least assist those folks. Um, yeah, let me pause. Is there anybody that has any bright ideas or concerns with this approach? All right. If not, you'll see a patch from me trying to update that container driver. I think it was failing for most of this release, so um, which probably could mean that we may have introduced some DHSS bugs in the code path, but we'll find out by running through this. It has been a non-voting job for all of its existence. Um, and I think right now the second concern that Carlos added to this Etherpad, I think, was the Docker rate limits issue. So Docker Hub started implementing it's a different set of rate limits. They already had some, and this started affecting CI systems like ours quite a lot. Um, and I think I could find a announcement page if
Is
you're
this
interested.
for is this for a specific image as well, Gotham? Or
Um,
because we've encountered the same thing, but I think maybe it's useful for you as well. I don't know if you have to be privileged, but we have our own. In CERN, we have our own registry basically that you can pull images from. So if Quay doesn't work, I could
yeah.
point you at that as well if it's useful.
Yeah, no, that would be it. So we had, I think it's a cross OpenStack CI, and we had
Sure.
a whole bunch of Docker images that we were storing on Docker Hub, and we do, I think we have a slow transition to key, and I think this is one of those jobs that has not been that we didn't spend any time you know transitioning it off of Docker Hub, for instance. And the Open Infra CI folks, they actually were exploring setting up a registry, um, but I don't think uh, at the moment there is I mean, anything available for us to just go push to right now.
Okay.
But thanks for mentioning that. I can actually check back with the Open Infra folks if they have a update on that. But this was all over the news a couple of months ago.
Yeah, yeah. We had the exact same thing. Lots
Mhm.
of stuff failing just because of this rate limiting. So
Right. Awesome. So, given that, I think what we're doing was also the fact, I think we were building an image in the Manila Image Elements project. So it's a completely low traffic kind of a repo. We're barely making any changes to the service images that we publish out of there, and those images are being used to run Tempest tests in the other repositories. Um, so it's more of the pulls than the pushes, because the pushes happen quite rarely, and so we I think switching out to something like Quiet might be helpful. And I think I've seen the Cola team do this and continue to do this. I don't think they've replaced all of their CI jobs to use um, Quiet, but it's worth looking at the alternatives. So just a tech debt item for our CI at the moment. As well, this is mostly informational. Again, stuff that we've had uh, it's just at this point tech debt um, for us to tackle to continue maintaining it. And the point I also want to make across to this is the container driver is built just for the gate, and just so it can start it can test all the APIs that the generic driver cannot support, and it's useful in that context to all the DHSs through vendor backends, because they can see a reference implementation. They can even make a reference implementation for any feature that they're working on, and they can see that it's continuously being tested, and hence the API coverage is there. And it's been a while since we added any new fancy features out there, but with any new DHS true thing, this is an option. All right. If there are no questions, concerns, we can move on to the next one. Carlos,
Yep.
10 minutes early.
Yeah. Sounds good. Yeah, I think we can wrap this up. Thanks for bringing this up. This is yeah, the DCI is very valuable for us. It would be nice if we can get everything in shape and working just fine again. Um, Otherwise, like it's easier to merge bugs into the code that we don't realize that are bugs because we don't have a working CI that will test stuff for GHSS true or different other interfaces in the driver. So yeah, thank you. And thanks for offering help to push the changes. I think at some point in the cycle, I was looking at it and we chatted about this, but at the end I didn't have enough cycles to go pursue the fix. So thanks for looking into that. Awesome. So can go to the next topic then, which is related to Python Vanilla Client. Also, tech that. Would you like to cover this, or would you like me to cover it?
Oh, go for it. I can pitch in.
Okay, thank you. Right. So a couple of cycles ago, I think it was Z cycle, we kind of finally had feature parity between the Manila client, Manila CLI, and the OpenStack client. And this is kind of like a huge achievement for us because it means that we also have Manila as a part of the OpenStack CLI. And it's kind of awesome. And then ever since that date, or ever since that release, we started talking about our deprecation and removal plans. We've added a deprecation warning to the Manila CLI, and it's kind of like there's a nice touch to it, and that got them worked on, which is whenever you type a Manila command like Manila list, you get the equivalent for the OpenStack CLI, and that's being added. That was added a couple of cycles ago. We have been working on that, and we have been talking about that feature for quite some time. And like it's been 6 cycles at this point, which means almost 3 years that we've added the deprecation warning. And at some point, things have to be removed. So the next step for this would be the removal of the Manila CLI from the code base. Um, of course, this has to be followed by a new email to the mailing list saying that we are going to remove this and communicating our intentions. And I can take care of that email and sending it to the mailing list. But we have been waiting for this for quite some time. As I said, we have the parity. We also talked about this briefly earlier, and we've started discouraging people to implement features in the Manila CLI, and we have been asking to implement in the OpenStack client instead, just because it's like the intention was always to remove the Manila CLI and move on only with the OpenStack client. All of that said, um, there's been a lot of work on this, honestly, and we kind of pushed on testing initially. We had some a bug splash that we talked about all of the testing that needed to be done, and we only covered the happy path. We didn't do a lot of functional testing from the get-go, and it was we added a couple of them, but for the most recent changes, we didn't have a lot of functional tests being added, and they are very important as well. They help us catch bugs every once in a while, so it's a really important thing to do. And yeah, that's where we are with the testing on that. But I mean, what does that mean as well? Like the switching, right? As soon as we remove the CLI, uh, we also need to make sure that our documentation is updated, because otherwise it's something that we'll say that we don't have the support, and we'll have all of the OpenStack commands in place, but our documentation and the examples that we are having, or the examples that we are sharing to our users and operators, they will all be pretty much outdated, and you won't be able to use the Manila CLI anymore. So over the last cycle, or it might be a bit earlier, we started that effort, or we started reporting some documentations bugs around that around October last year, and which is beginning of the cycle, end of Dalmatian 2, beginning of epoxy, sorry. So that's when we started reporting a couple of bugs on the documentation, and for the beginning of the cycle, or I mean, epoxy. Sorry about that. In the beginning of epoxy, we started having some people contributing to some documentation changes, and we've started to have some interns, or some prospect interns picking up some of these tasks, which would be to go update our documentation. This is kind of something that good for newcomers. Anyone with a dev stack can run such things, because we kind of try to have all of the features being implemented at least for by one of the first party drivers, even if it is the dummy driver. So if you'd like to update anything, you can, because you can just install the dev stack with the dummy driver and run the commands and update the documentation. And we've had some progress on that, and uh, it's going uh, okay, but we'll need a bigger push. And this is also something that we briefly talked on Monday during the retrospective, that we will need like a bigger push on the cycle if we want to remove the client, so that we have all of the documentation updated only to the use the OpenStack client. So as far as documentation goes, that's where we are, and we also need to work on the Keystone client removal. Yeah, so Gotham, would you like to cover that part?
Yeah, this one's annoying, and annoying because I think with the way we do deprecations, we've kind of uh, carried this baggage for quite some time. We also did some things incorrectly, which is we've been using the Keystone client instead of using Keystone Auth, just because nothing broke. And nothing is expected to break, but I suppose people, I mean, the package is a little bloated. We don't really need everything that's there in Keystone Client, and it gets imported for just doing the auth piece. So it feels like it was an improvement we set out on, and then we stopped because we were in the process also deprecating a whole bunch of CLI options. But now that we're getting rid of the old CLI, we don't need to support those CLI options any longer. So it makes it easier for us to do the Keystone client to Keystone auth change transparently, and to anybody that's using the OpenStack CLI. Um, so and we don't need to worry about the Manila CLI. Um, so the problems are gone, I think, is the underlying thing, which means this would be the first batch that we could end up merging, and also start merging the CLI options. Carlos, back at you.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I kind of my meatpad froze for a bit. Sorry about that. I lost the last phrase that you said. Yeah, I was just realizing for the documentation bits of it. Thanks for sharing the things that we need to do on Keystone Client. For the documentation part, I just realized that we don't have all of the changes tagged under a single tag so that we can filter them easily. I will do that right now and update the tags on the changes so that we can filter them easily, and also ask our interns to keep setting the same topic to their changes. Then it will help us to keep track of everything that's going on. I just managed to filter a couple of changes, and I think we have one like 8 or 10 patches. A couple of some of them are already merged, but we will definitely need um, some a bigger push on this. And yeah, during the retrospective, we talked about this, as I said, and we kind of try to come up with like some dates or some deadlines on how and when we would like to get this done. So um, we talked about what we would need to do, and we would like to work with the interns that we have been working until the feature proposal freeze, so that they can work and get this like most of the things that they have been working on done. And then after that, we will get to a more urgent state where we'll need to have an extra push and ensure that all of the documentation is updated. So that means schedule. That means that feature proposal freeze would traditionally we have it at R10 or something like that, which is 10 weeks before the release. But R10 is actually 5 weeks before the client release. We can have the same format again for this cycle. So R10 would be July 25, and then that means 5 weeks before the final client release when this change would actually go out. So that would be the timeline that we were looking at. Ashley kindly offered to help with the changes when as soon as we realize how long or how far we managed to go with the interns. Then Ashley offered to pick up what are the next action items and drive them to completion. So thanks for that. And yeah, I think that's kind of like one of the urgent things that we had for getting the whole removal of the OpenStack client going. And also, I see Ashley, you've added something else related to functional tests?
Yeah, we did like a targeted bug squash a while ago, and just looking at the Garrett topic, I think one or two are still left open. I mean, it's not as far as functional testing. Like we don't removing or deprecating nullifying is not contingent on having functional tests, but it is definitely one of those nice to have things. And I mean, you also said earlier that that targeted bug squash was mostly positive case tests. So maybe we can do another a similar, uh, you know, uh, collective push to do some negative testing. I mean, we did. From what I remember of that, we it was like really fast. We got like a large number of those patches in that week or two span, and really covered what we needed to cover as far as testing.
Yes, thank you. That was kind of like a good event that we had. We worked for a week. It was a hackathon, I think.
Mhm.
So yeah, basically we can work on this again. It was a hackathon, I think likely on Z cycle or something like that. And then yeah, it would be nice if we can get some similar thing going on, so that we can yeah, get this done and get better testing.
Yeah. Gotham, I think you also had something.
Yeah,
No,
sorry
yeah,
if I
the
cut you
hackathon
off.
idea is good. I think we're crossing lines. I think we were just chatting if Carlos was having audio issues.
Yeah.
Um, but the hackathon idea is neat. The other thing we could do is when you have these work items, right? And if you notice this could use some more negative tests, we could create a bug, and that could also be one of those low hanging fruits that we see new contributors try. Because I think we are soon running out of low hanging fruits from all the outreachy contenders that we had and all the university interns that we were onboarding and so on. So this looks like a good avenue. Lots of small things that we could get done that way.
Yes. Awesome. And sorry, I do have audio issues. Sorry if I cut you off. Sometimes like it's just freezing for me, and then I think someone is like done talking, and then I just realize like the audio froze completely. So apologies for that. I'll likely need to reboot my system in the next break or after we're done. But yeah, it's going on like for the whole meeting, I would say. Not a nice situation to be. Sorry about that, guys.
No worries.
All right, the deadline sounds great to me. The hackathon sounds great. Is there anything else in terms of uh, stuff to do for this?
I don't think so. Yeah, I think we're good.
Carlos, do you mind us touching very briefly on the next two topics, and then and then going into the break if we even need it, that is, because again, that is tech debt, and I can just cover those very quickly.
Yeah, sure. That works. Thank you.
Okay. I just want to pause. Is there any other feedback on the Manila CLI stuff? Have folks been using the OpenStack CLI? Have there been anything? Has there been anything annoying? stuff to fix. I know we've started seeing bug reports on small improvements and things, and they've already been. I mean, folks have been nice to actually propose those fixes as well. Sounds like not. Okay, let's move on. I think ZFS on Linux. Well, we did a major transition during this cycle to start testing on the latest distro LTS. There is no particular reason to use Ubuntu specifically in our CI systems, just that things tend to be stable, as opposed to using CentOS Stream or using Debian or I think there was one other. It was OpenSUSE or something, which was available as test images and so on. So it feels like a lot of jobs are ending up on Ubuntu, and there's no particular favor that we're doing to that distro. For instance, a lot of people on this call would rather not use Ubuntu on our day jobs, but it's been really useful on this in the CI context. And to that, I think we did a migration to the latest LTS of Ubuntu across all of the CI jobs. And this one job was left on Jammy, and that's because of, I think, missing ZFS packages, missing or changed ZFS packages that kind of broke our DevStack plugin a little bit. So the setup itself is failing. So it's pending investigation. So if you see the ZFS on Linux job still running and voting on your changes, it's doing fine because it's running on the older Jammy jellyfish image. Um, but that's like one easy thing to tackle early in this cycle for us, so that something else from another project doesn't break uh, the ZFS job. Um, Again, just for information, what is the ZFS on Linux job currently test? I think it tests replication, it tests snapshots much more than the other drivers do, and it'll be useful to keep it going, in my view. Um, I think I can pick that up. We created a tech debt bug for it, uh, and I'll just see how hard it is to get that going. The next one, IPv6 testing. This one I need a little bit of help and probably some guidance from anyone over here that is that's better acquainted with networking in the OpenStack context specifically. The issue we have here is that we were trying to do data path testing with the same way we do scenario testing with IPv6. So technically, whatever storage is being set up, we would export on IPv6 paths, and we would have the client mounts also access those with the IPv6 exports, and use access control on Manila with IPv6 IP addresses. So all of this was working fine with the Neutron dynamic routing and with BGP, and I think with the latest versions of OSS, we lost that ability. I think partly, I think the BGP software that we were using is now deprecated, so everything is consolidated into FRR, a new project, and things didn't translate directly, at least. So what we do in our setups is we create a BGP speaker on the host, and we configure it with the Neutron dynamic routing service so that it is aware of the speaker and all of the networks that are getting created by OpenStack during testing, which is when Tempest creates a network, a private network, and creates a VM on it. The routes are advertised to the and through this BGP speaker that's on the DevStack host. Seems like a very simple use case for BGP specifically, because why do you need routes on the host? Because that's where Tempest is running, and it needs to be able to SSH into the VMs, um, and the VMs need to know where the storage endpoint is. or rather the export IP. Where is that coming from, and how to route to it? So that's what the use case is. Um, so this has been again broken since we've migrated to the latest Ubuntu LTS, and we don't have a timeline to fix. Um, so which means that we're not really testing IPv6 data path in the OpenStack CI right now. Um, and it's being tested downstream. I can tell, and I know that things are not broken, but it's probably not a great situation to be in when we've disabled the test substream. There could be a possibility that we're introducing some bugs, and it'll be late to know. So that's the long and short of this. If anyone here has any experience doing IPv6 or BGP with OpenStack, um, I'll be happy to collab with you to try to see how we can fix up that test job. And with that, I think that was the CI testing tech debt stuff as well, Carlos. And unless you want to have open discussions and such.
Yeah, we can have somewhat open discussions actually, and I think it's good timing for some operator concerns. I see we have some operators in the room. Yeah. Oh, Maurice had a topic before, but he left. We can discuss that tomorrow. I had a scheduled for tomorrow. But yeah, if you have any kind of concerns or something that you would like to bring up, yeah, we can use this time for some open discussions.
A little follow-up on about the IPv6 there. Would you mind, Carlos, adding a link to the issue and the patch that we skipped the IPv6 test? I can take a look and reach out.
Yep.
Thank you.
I said Ziba, it's Quagga. Oh yeah. Thanks, Scott. You beat me to it. I had it, the link of it. Uh, awesome. And the change is this one. Cool. Is there something else you guys would like to bring up? This is likely a good time for open discussions. I think we have a couple of things in the parking lot. We had these questions, and the person that asked them joined earlier today. I've emailed and pinged on the chat as well. Uh, Not sure if they seen this, but yeah, maybe we can discuss this tomorrow. And in my email, I asked, yeah, it's fine if we can do it tomorrow, or because it might be a bit late on their time zone. But we can also discuss this at a weekly meeting. We have something else at the parking lot, which is the internships that we have been going. If we don't have any open discussion topics, we can talk a little bit about this. Of course, it would be awesome to have all of the interns here with us. We've had some meetings with them, but this would be kind of like more of an update on our end, if that's okay. Um, Gotham, Ashley, do you feel we should do this today, or should we get the students here tomorrow also and try to do this to cover this topic tomorrow?
Or Friday, if you
Yeah,
want to have them over at the happy hour, that might be a nice meet and greet with the
yeah,
rest of the community.
exactly.
Yeah, I mean, if you wanna do any technical updates now and then introductory round on Friday.
Yeah, I think we can do that. Just try to cover every or some of the things that we've been doing with the interns. Yeah, so Right. So we have a couple of internships going on, and we do these very frequently. We and this is something that everybody can get involved. So if you'd like to mentor some students on some upstream project or something, um, usually our point of contact is Kendall, and then Kendall is in touch with a lot of universities. Those universities, they usually have some professors that are involved or engaged in the community and trying to get some real world cloud experience to their students. And that's how we got some students from North Dakota State University and from Valencia and also Seattle University. I cannot forget that. So first one, UI outreachy. We have proposed an outreachy project. I've linked this to several people. I will get the link very quickly and share this with you. But um, what is going on is we have proposed an outreachy project that is around Manila UI. And it's like no surprise for us that the Manila UI um, is kind of requiring some updates. We need to have a couple of features being updated there. And we have a big gap currently from the API and the Manila UI. So what we are trying to do, what we have been working on with these interns is trying to close that gap. So this is the project that we have proposed to Outreachy. We don't have an intern yet. That's the thing, like, and we have apparently currently we have the funding for one intern in the entirety of OpenStack, and we also have like some people in some projects being proposed, like in Ironic, for example. So not sure when we'll or if we'll get the interns, but yeah, the contribution phase is going good, and we are kind of working with them and getting them used to everything OpenStack, which we all know it's kind of hard to get the onboarding going. But they have been doing good, and I'm happy to see the progress that they have been making. Some of them are working on a couple of UI changes, like low-hanging fruit. Also, documentation changes. Some of these documentation changes that we just talked about, like switching the examples from Manila CLI to Manila to the OSC. So they have been working with us, and they are in the contribution phase. And I hope we can get one intern working with us in Manila UI for the next cycle. But that's not the only Manila UI internship. I think we can cover the next one, which would be North Dakota State University. It's not Open API; it's only UI. So, Ashley, would you like to share more about that?
Yeah, so we have Lisa, Tony, Logan, Alex, and Jacob. These are the 5 interns we have with NDSU. They are working on some Manila UI implementations. We met yesterday and we walked, I want to say it was Alex, through some the updating of quotas on the dashboard. We're also working, Tony's working on filtering for user messages, through like a, what's the word? Oh, date filtering, like if it was created before or after a certain date. So we're working on that as well. Yeah, they're doing pretty good. We have them all set up with some DevStack VMs. Yeah, and they're pretty excited to be working on this stuff. I believe their course concludes in May, so we have some time still to get their patches up, running, hopefully merged. Yeah, so they're doing pretty well.
Awesome, thank you. We also have some interns from Valencia College. We've been working with a professor from the Valencia College for some time now, and this one of the interns is actually doing back to back internships with us. Uh, So for Valencia, we have been trying to work both on documentation updates for and switching from Manila CLI to the OSC, but also getting some things done with the Open API as well. And this is not the only internship we have for Open API going on. So currently 3 interns, and their semester should end in 2 weeks. So we should have our last meeting with them like on April 25th. So yeah, that's that's also some like effort that we have been putting on the Open API. We had a couple more interns in the past, so uh, pretty nice to see this going. And yeah, we have been building a relationship with all of these universities. And yeah, Gotham, would you like to cover the next one, which is the University of Seattle?
Hey, yes. So I think this has been a long-term project. So it's Open API. That's the end goal over here, is to be able to publish our API specs using the Swagger format and Open API. Um, but to get there, we ought to add some easy things in the code that something else can build the Open API specification upon. And part of that is to do JSON schema validation. As part of that, we'll be able to add request and response schemas to each of the APIs. That makes things easier for a tool to grok. You might think this is actually a nice thing we should have already done, but it was probably well, Manila was one of the last projects that doesn't have JSON schemas defined in code. Although the yeah, there are different ways of doing this, but I think the JSON schema format won out, and we're finally getting a whole lot of patches in to cover the whole API. I wouldn't say it's going to be done in this one release or something, but we're attempting this through intern projects. And so with both the interns from City University of Seattle and the 3 interns from VC, we made some more progress this cycle, and we'll continue to do that with the Flamingo cycle, because I think we have more upcoming interns from the from VC as well. But if you're interested in this whole open API effort, this is probably getting discussed elsewhere in the OpenStack PTG. I mean, we are basically just guinea pigs to the way that the automatic code generator project is generating API schemas um, out of the JSON schemas that are getting added to into Manila.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you for the update. Cool. Anything else on internships? If not, we can ask one more time if you have if we have anything else for open discussion. Any other topics that aren't currently in the schedule and you would like to bring them up. This is a very good time for you for us to do so. Otherwise, we can wrap up and get back to the discussions tomorrow.
I had one around the Luster FS question.
Yep.
So I don't know whether the person that was proposing the topic was intending to write up the Lustre driver. Um, there was, I think, some interest in Lustre and Moose FS, I suppose, specifically around HPC use cases. Um, so I don't know how widely this is being used. Let's say at CERN, for instance, would this be of interest apart from the person that proposed the topic for anybody else here? I guess the question is, do you use anything besides Ceph in CERN?
Sorry, could you repeat the question one more time? Sorry,
Yeah.
I didn't quite
So I
catch.
think, yeah. So somebody's proposing a Lustre FS driver in in Manila.
Sure.
And this question has come up before, and it was mostly around HPC use cases.
Mm.
And I know you folks do a lot of it. So I was wondering if you use anything besides FFS.
Um, for OpenStack, it's purely Ceph. There are other we use other file systems, and there's something called EOS. I can put a link in the chat if you want to have a look at it. But this is something that we've sort of developed internally. There may be people using Lustre within like the detectors, like the experiments themselves. But as far as OpenStack goes,
like somewhere. Oh.
Mm. Makes sense. Thank you. They probably post in the Scientific Sick channel if you're going to schedule this topic, Carlos, and see if there's anybody else that would like to join.
Yeah, can do that. Sorry, Sivan, I think you were touched up or something. Thanks for joining, Ulrich. Yep, see you.
Awesome. I think we can wrap up early.
Yeah, get 20 minutes back to our days. Right. Thank you everyone for joining. It was really great having a couple of have sharing these discussions with you and having you all in the room. Hope you have a great day, and yeah, I will see you tomorrow at the exact same time, 14 UTC. We'll start the discussions with Barbican encryption, replication improvements, and then cover a couple of other topics. So, yeah, thanks for joining, and I hope you have a great day.
Thanks,
thank you.
Carlos.
Have a nice
See
rest of
you
your
guys.
day.
Thank you.